So news just in is that bail for former Eskom acting CEO Matshela Koko has been set at 300,000 rand bail. He appeared today before the Middelburg Magistrates Court in Mpumalanga along with 7 other accused. They face fraud, corruption, money laundering charges linked to the 2.2 billion rands worth of contracts for the Kusile power station. This relates to the period between 2014 and 2017. The accused were arrested in Gauteng and Mpumalanga this morning. Now, senior reporter Aviwe Mtila is in Middelburg and joins us now. So, Aviwe, good evening to you. And I understand, and this is something that's plagued the court hearing all day, there's a very real possibility that load shedding might impact this crossing. So tell us what you know.
Well, that's the irony of it all, Sally. You know that these is involving corruption, irregularities basically at Eskom, and any moment now we're expecting the lights to actually go off. It's one of the reasons that the court proceedings were delayed, court then taking place after 2 o'clock because there were those spates of Eskom load shedding. It just wrapped up, in fact, now where Matshela Koko and 3 other accused of the 8 that appeared in court were granted 300,000 rand bail. In fact, they to remain in custody until they pay that bail, which we're expecting them to pay any moment from now, so that they can be released, returning back on the 23rd of March. We do know that the bone of contention, well, one of the issues that Matshela Koko raised was that he couldn't afford the bail. He could afford 50,000 rand, given that he's unemployed, yet he did say that he has businesses, in fact, and needed to travel a lot abroad, which he then suggested that, in fact, one of the issues that he needed a passport. But I actually want to rope in Sincere Siboko from the NPA's investigating directorate, just to maybe get an understanding and just paint a picture through these bail conditions. We heard 2 separate bail applications. First was for, in majority, Koko Matshela's family, the wife and the 2 daughters, alongside the lawyer, which got 70,000 rand bail, and now 300,000 rand bail. But Matshela Koko doesn't seem to have gotten what he wanted in being able to travel. Maybe tell us the conditions.
So for starters, you would have heard now that the judgment was handed down where the Schedule 5 accused were granted 300,000 rand bail each. They have to make that particular payment before they are then released. Additionally, we must also state that the bail conditions also include that they are to hand over their passports, more particularly to most of the accused, to report to their closest police stations. You would have heard that there were various arrangements made onto which is the closest police stations for the accused to appear at once a week. But those are just some of the conditions. For us, we must state that for us, bail is not punitive, so says legislation. However, it's to ensure the attendance of the accused.
And like clockwork, Sally, the lights have actually gone out. We are under load shedding. Teddy Mnyembane helping us with the camera light there. But just to go on to the accusations that they face and the charges here, maybe sum it up onto what they were accused of doing exactly.
So it pertains to the 2.2 billion contracts that ABB was awarded in 2015. We're saying that some of the accused, Matshela Koko, as well as Hlupheka Sithole, basically assisted or used their influence in order for that contract to be granted. We're also saying that the other Schedule 1 accused are in the dock for having used or assisted in the money laundering aspects where they used various companies to do so. Those are the allegations that we're bringing before court, some of which were highlighted through the bail affidavit that was read by the investigating officer in this particular regard. And we're basically saying in a nutshell that of a portion of the building of Kusile Power Station, that some money was used to grease hands and thank them for that particular deal.
And the stepdaughters, the wife of Matshela Koko, how are they involved? He was the, understand, the acting executive at Eskom, CEO.
So we're saying that there were companies that were used in either of their names as well as trusts in order to benefit them. So we're saying that part and parcel of the benefit that they would have derived is through the concealing of where the proceeds come from through money laundering.
All right, thank you very much. Sincere Siboko from the investigating directives from the NPA, in fact. I'm not sure how much time we have, Sally, because I actually had a conversation with Matshela Koko as he came in, sitting down, waiting for the court proceedings to actually be underway. He was confused as to why he's here. And basically, here's a little clip. I'm not sure if we've got time to just play that clip where I asked him how he feels facing the nature of the charges that he faces.
the interest of justice, requires them to be released on bail, and accordingly the following order is made. In terms of section 6011B of the Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1997, in respect of all the accused, bail is set in the amount of 300,000 rand, subject to the following conditions: that the accused must hand over the passport to Lieutenant Colonel Du Plessis, and they may also not apply for new travel documentation. Should the accused wishes to travel abroad, he may request his travel documents from Lieutenant Colonel Du Plessis a week before the anticipated travel. The accused must further, upon his return, he is required to hand back his travel documents within 3 days upon his return from abroad. The travel documents back to Lieutenant Colonel Du Plessis.
All right, so that's the magistrate who spoke just a little earlier about the bail and the bail conditions, but you referenced that you did get a chance to have a very brief conversation with Matshela Koko. We have got that clip. Let's take a listen, then we can chat again.
These are serious charges you're facing, Nomkulu. What do you have to say about them?
I think they've set themselves for failure.
Who has set themselves for failure?
Whoever brought me here set themselves for failure. They have set themselves up for failure. It's probably the right thing that we're here, so they've set them up for failure.
It must have been a fascinating conversation, and I'd love your insights, because this is a man who set himself up as the person speaking the real truth about Eskom, pointing fingers at the current leaders at Eskom, saying under my watch things were going really well, and also often spouting a lot of sort of engineering expertise. He is an engineer, and always very angry at any allegations against him. Did he come across as angry, upset, sad, resolute when you spoke to him?
The people's engineer, as he's widely known on your Twitter streets, but he was quite reserved today. He basically said he didn't know what these charges are about. He was just anxious to have his day in court, but you could see there's a bit of unsettlement in all of that. He wasn't his usual, bubbly self, as you'd often know Matshela Koko in the numerous interviews that we've done with him. The interesting thing, though, Sally, about this case is that, as you'd know, the six-part report of the Zondo Commission is out. This particular case wasn't even mentioned there. It didn't come out in those 4-year testimonies that we've heard as that commission went and took place. And the report came out. We remember last Sunday, President Cyril Ramaphosa mentioning the steps that he is yet to take. We do understand when it comes to Eskom, what came out in that report was around trillion. We do know optimum mine as well as regiment's capital. What we do know that came out from the report itself, but no mention of this case that's currently in court. So it's going to be interesting to see what also the ID brings out then to the courts, given that this was not even part of the Zondo Commission, even though they do say that it formed part of state capture, as we heard then last Sunday. President Cyril Ramaphosa suggesting that there was indeed state capture that did happen in the country.
And we know that today's events are the result, I think, of at least 4 years of investigation on the part of the investigating directorate, the NPA, looking into this. And as one reads through the charges, you can see that they've done a lot of the linking, traced a lot of the so-called shelf companies. Obviously, this all still has to be proven in court. But it's astonishing if you think that 2.2 billion rand, not even mentioned in state capture report, it indicates, if indeed these are true allegations, just how vast corruption and how deep corruption potentially goes in Eskom. The fact that you're sitting now in load shedding, that Kusile itself, I think, was completely offline for a period last week, and this is one of our new power stations, speaks to the depth of the problem, doesn't it?
Certainly does, Sally. And you mentioned the investigations that went in from the ID coming in. You understand, initially done by the Hawks and the ID taking over, I understand, in 2019. Starting in 2017, the investigations themselves into a matter that went from 2015. We do understand, of course, those allegations around the Swiss company, ABB, and the gratifications, the greasing of those hands that happened over a period of time. And of course, in those irregular contracts amounting to an astonishing 2.2 billion rand, not even in the state capture report, Sally. So it really makes you wonder just how much, in fact, of a dent that state capture had, of course, in the country, and the impact of it all. In fact, we're in a dark courtroom as it is this very moment. The last people here, myself and Tendi Mnyembana, as everyone else, had to even leave. The magistrate didn't even have the time to actually read through the merits and how he came to his conclusion of the bail application, given that he had a time, knowing that at 7 o'clock there was going to be load shedding. So before then, he had to wrap up quickly and go straight to the bail judgment itself, not even going through the merits of it all.
And this matter is back in court in March. Matshela Koko is going to post bail, we understand from what you said this evening. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the coming months leading up to that matter. Thank you so much for prevailing against load shedding and the very long hours in court, such a crucial case. Many thanks to senior reporter Aviwe Mtila.